This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program News Analysis, now we bring you a discussion on security situation in Kashmir. The participants are Dilip Trivedi, former Director General CRPF, and Nikunj Garg, journalist.
The Home Minister, Mr. Rajnath Singh, has embarked upon a 4-day visit to Jammu and Kashmir today, and significantly keeping in mind the turmoil also that the state has faced of late, he has said that he is willing to meet all those who can suggest solutions to the problem. Dilipji, what can be the key achievements, or what can the Home Minister's visit achieve in the real sense?
I think the Home Minister has been here now for more than 3 years in this ministry. So he must be having a fairly accurate idea in any case. I don't think this visit will achieve anything very specific in terms of the visit. This might be more in terms of a confidence building measure. The presence of the Home Minister in the valley bolsters of the confidence of the police, and once he is there and there is some back channel meetings and things like that take place. But I don't think it could lead to something very, very specific in terms of a 4-day visit like this. Because the analysis of the whole problem must be very clear in his mind. Yes, if he had just taken over and it was his first maiden visit, it could have had possibilities of different kinds. So I think it must be just one part of the process which has been going on for the last 3 years. So I would not think that it will lead to something very, very dramatic breakthrough. One is this because of the background. And second, also, if you see at this point of time, no agenda has been given. It's not that if he's calling upon the separatists, he's called them for a meeting. He's saying, I'm willing to meet each and every person associated with this. So I think it's more of a ongoing process rather than something very specific.
You've correctly put it that it's the part of the process, and Home Minister is the senior most functionary from the side of the government and even from the side of the political spectrum that he represents, who has been regularly visiting Jammu and Kashmir. This is certainly not his first visit. In that sense, the Home Minister's outreach, do you think it will have an impact of bringing people nearer to the mainstream, in the sense that they will realize that the best interests of Kashmir are in the minds of the most important and the most relevant people of this country?
Yes, definitely. The Home Minister is finally the ultimate authority or the ultimate point which resolutions will need to be worked out for Kashmir. But as I said earlier, the problem on this particular visit this time, or in the previous visits, has been that the agenda that you want to finalize, there are a lot of non-governmental agencies and other things also working in the background. So if something has been put through them to the concerned people who are creating the problem there, that they should come and meet and we can discuss this, then it's a different issue if it's a back channel thing which we are not aware of openly. But in an open meeting, just going to Kashmir, calling people for a debate, because Kashmir is not that far now as it used to be once upon a time. It's very easy for anybody from Kashmir to come to Delhi and meet the Home Minister. Today it's very simple. I mean, if solutions can be worked out and somebody is willing for a solution, then it can come and can be done in Delhi. It's a very good initiative for the Home Minister to go there. But it's not something which is going to set unusual trend. But yes, it had been declared that I'm coming here and we need to hammer out a resolution, and I'm going to be here till some issues are sorted out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issues. It's a very general statement that anyone having anything to come can come and discuss. So these kind of discussions have been going on now for years. And if you genuinely make an analysis of the Kashmir problem, you will realize that it is a problem in which a lot of vested interests have got involved, who want to perpetuate the problem. They want to have it calibrated to a certain level where it does go out of hand, and at the same time keep it going, because those vested interests are benefiting largely from it. Now, there is no attempt at any level to undermine those vested interests. So whether it is Kashmir or it is the Northeast or it is any other place, you see these movements when they take place. We can call them anti-national movements, or you can call them insurgencies, or you can call them rebellion, whatever word you want to give it, because each has a defined nomenclature. But any unrest will have swings of ups and downs, ups and downs. So once it goes to a peak, then it declines again. So that is that calibrated effect which these people want all the time in Kashmir. And they've been able to do it for the last so many years.
But for sure, you would agree with the fact that this government particularly has taken certain unprecedented steps, like the crackdown on the All-Party Hurriyat Conference leadership that we have seen. For years together, it was known that they were receiving money from channels that were not legitimate from Pakistan side. The monies were not accounted for. It is probably for the first time that a central agency is probing these individuals. Many of them have been put behind the bars. the government has shown that it's not the private fiefdom or property that is going on in Kashmir. And if the law of the land that prevails, it has to prevail in J&K also. So in the backdrop of that, I'm sure that vested interests are there. But then on the one hand that the government is showing the iron fist, the Home Minister's iron fist and the velvet glove approach is also required. His visit is also required in the sense that it sends a message that we are not only dealing with a strong hand. We do have a political outreach. We do have a administrative outreach. We do have a approach towards Kashmiriyat and Insaniyat.
Yes, I totally agree, because as I said at the beginning that yes, Home Minister visiting the valley does have its advantages or does give us a certain amount of message to the local people. Home Minister, I think, needs to really go down to the masses. So instead of meeting, if he can get this message through, that this is just a law of the land kind of a thing. So that could be a good message to go down in this particular situation. But a similar action taken by another government would have had different repercussions. Here somehow this whole act, a very good act, will also be politicized and used to create a further problem.
Then that's a problem somehow with politics of Kashmir-centric parties. Kashmir-centric parties have always been speaking in one language in Kashmir, one in Jammu and another in Delhi. But then I was talking to the vested interest point that you raised. Our neighbor also, Pakistan also, see, one has to be very clear that there is no indigenous movement or rebellion against the government of the day. It is a Pakistan-sponsored militancy. Pakistan proxies are fighting it at the behest of Pakistan. So indigenously, the people of Kashmir are not up in the arms against the government.
Absolutely. And it has never been an indigenous movement. Right from 47, it has never been an indigenous movement, except that certain people exploited it and projected it as an indigenous movement so that they could get, as I said, their vested interests could be served. It could be served in terms of remaining in political power. Initial stages, certain political party, local political party gave the kind of impression that if we stay in power, we are the best bet for India. So every attempt was made by India, even to the extent of where the elections were not really, people never thought that they were free and fair elections. But the intention behind Government of India all the time was being that we need to support this party because this is a party that will sustain the Indian interest in that valley. So this kind of a thing has been there throughout, you see, because it's only when you paint someone black that you appear more white. All these things have been happening there. It's definite. And at the end of it, what is the number of militants? If you count the number of militants, there are such a few numbers. It is just that the terrain gives them a certain added advantage. And of course, the backing from our neighbors across, which give them the firepower and other things, which creates a problem, which appears to a person down here in Delhi and North and rest of India as if it's a very insurmountable problem. But if you actually go to the valley and stay there, I've realized that it's just not an issue. It's only that somewhere, when you're out of that area, it appears as a big problem. Otherwise, there is no such issues.
And talking of, again, the Pakistan-sponsored militancy, of late, one dynamic that is seemingly changing, though it's very difficult, Pakistan and China are all-weather friends, and China would be extremely difficult to imagine China sacrificing Pakistan at any altar. But of late, in BRICS and otherwise, also China has ticked Pakistan off and about it, the terror groups that it sponsors and are operating freely from its soil. And even in Pakistan, their own defense minister has said of late that the terrorist groups Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, we must distance from them because it is harming us internationally. So you think that kind of realization in the Pakistani establishment, political establishment at least, will have a bearing, if not in short term on the Kashmir problem, then in the longer term?
You must understand that what Pakistan has had sudden change of heart has taken place. It is primarily because of the Americans doing a plain talk with them this time. For the first time, the Americans have told them, sorry, if you continue with this, we are going to stop our aid to you. They have never been so forthright so far ever in their efforts as they have, in their talks as they have been this time. So I personally feel that Pakistan is appearing to be subdued right now more because of the American pressure than anything else. One. China, yes, on this issue of Doklam and trying to reconcile the whole thing, and they have agreed on the BRICS. Although BRICS is an economic cooperation area, still this agenda of terrorism was included. But if you see the editorials of the Chinese and their official mouthpieces, they have been criticizing this move of China and saying at some point of time China will have to pay dearly for doing this. So there seems to be the premier or the political establishment in China wanting a different stand to be taken, and maybe the party which also controls the mouthpiece and the organs have a different thing. So I don't know how long that will go to continue. But what is of China's strategic interest is the Karakoram highway, which is opening to a port in Gwalior port in Balochistan. And if you see that highway, it's an amazing piece of work. They're calling it the eighth wonder of the world. And it's really amazing the way the roads have been built and the transport. Because China's basic problem is going to be an economic problem. They're backing out even in Doklam is the fact that India is such a huge market for them. So China has a very preconceived interest in economics right now. And if they feel that the Pakistanis are now changing their this thing under American pressure, they don't want to stir the water further. They want to keep things as even and because trade and commerce and all will only flourish if things are more peaceful. So to that extent, yes, it's a good thing to happen as far as India is concerned. And along with that, the crackdown on these people within the valley. Suddenly there is an international climate which is pro getting rid of these extremist elements and not supporting the extremist elements in the valley. Both China and Pakistan are speaking in one voice against their activities, which means also they will support them less in terms of finances, in terms of weaponries, in terms of other things. But what we must really understand is that many a times the political establishment in Pakistan is defied totally by the army. So there's a lot of vested interest of the military in Pakistan also to continue this act. So I don't know how much is going to relate on the ground, but definitely it's a welcome act.
Coming back to the Home Minister's visit, Government of India is a stakeholder. Like in any union federation, Government of India will remain the biggest stakeholder in the peace and continuance of that state with the Union of India. In America also that has been the issue with the various states and all. But don't you think it's also incumbent upon the political parties, the civil society, and Kashmir today has a flourishing civil society, to also engage with the Home Minister more and at least ensure that the basics are not stopped by or halted by the militant activity of militants, are working fully in tandem with the way the Government of India perceives things?
Yes, definitely. And also you must realize at this point of time that a lot of industries, apart from tourism, which has also been the mainstay of the Kashmiris in the valley, a lot of heavy industries have now started emerging in that area. I know of a person who started as one of the biggest steel plants in the valley, which is providing a lot of employment and it's generating so much of economic turnovers and subsidies are being given by the government and all. Now, these are legitimate ways to bring people into the main line. Rather than just give them doles that if you're killed in militant act, we'll give you some money. That doesn't really work out much. But if you are going to really help with setting up of industries and now eventually you'll have a train. I thought it was a great sight to see a metro moving in the valley. And now to have a train where you can book a train seat from Delhi right up to Kashmir. And it will be such a wonderful train ride. And it's going to link up the valley further. So all these things are step by step which will integrate Kashmir within the country. In any case, I mean, whatever my people may say, but I have been watching this for a long time, in my years from IB to CRPF, that the integration of the minds of the people of Kashmir is taking place on a daily basis with India. From what it used to be when we were under training, my first visit in 1980 to the valley when I was under training, to the fact now today there's no such talk there. You know, and unless people, some elements start talking of repeal of 376 and moving out of special status, but gradually you see even the special status has come down to becoming a normal status.
One must also not lose sight of the fact that that special status is granted to many other states in various
different ways. You know, the more you talk about it, the more you harden the stand on the other side. So the best is to just let go. And you find the integration will take place. And it has taken place. I mean, from original concept of Article 376 to what it is today, it's a much watered down thing because they have also realized their dependence. As a matter of fact, Kashmir went very quickly into GST.
Yes. And the Article 370 and other things will remain a little bit contentious, but thank you very much, on talking about the whole spectrum of issue of Kashmir and the Home Minister's visit, particularly in that context. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on security situation in Kashmir. The participants were Dilip Trivedi, former Director General, CRPF, and Nikunj Garg, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.nic.in. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.